Welcome to Think Wedding Business, the podcast where we interview leading wedding entrepreneurs and find out what makes them a success in the industry. With me, Howard Wing.
And me, Adam Wing. Whether you're a florist or a photographer, a cake maker, videographer, new to the industry, or just looking for some inspiration, then this is the place to be.
So without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in for an incredible night. Oh, we're taking it up a notch.
The awesome Lucy Wright, international wedding planner. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to set up a wedding planning business from scratch?
Yes, Donald Trump did interrupt my room setup.
What's your process in picking suppliers that you've got confidence in for your couples?
I would never recommend a supplier because...
Hey, be sure you stick around because we're only getting warmed up.
When she wakes up the next day, she's in a carpet like,
in the fridge.
Someone's trying to murder me.
How are we doing, guys? We are back today with another podcast with Think Wedding Business, and we've got a very special guest today, someone me and Adam have known for quite a few years in the industry, and that is the awesome Lucy Wright. Now, Lucy Wright is a very well-renowned wedding planner, international wedding planner, general good egg,
fair?
And it's great to have her on the podcast.
Lucy.
So thank
Hi.
you.
How are you doing?
Hi, thanks for coming over.
Thanks for having us in your home. We're at Lucy's house. Thanks
Oh,
for...
you're very welcome.
Firstly,
Right,
what a great place this is.
Oh.
What do you think?
How are you?
Good, thank you. Slightly exhausted after weddings last week. A big wedding for 300 guests, so just recovering, but I was still doing my emails whilst I was at that wedding, and then the next day driving back down from Scotland with them, doing my phone calls, catching up. So exhausted, but carrying on.
But I've just got to interject there because this was not just an ordinary wedding. This was 300 people wedding at
Donald
Turnberry
Trump's house.
Place at Donald
Yeah,
Trump's gaff.
yeah.
And you got to meet Donald Trump. So you're working in some high society circles, which is cool.
Yeah, it was fabulous. It was great. Yes, Donald Trump did interrupt my room setup and sit on the wedding thrones and say how beautiful the wedding was. But so it was quite exciting to see him there. And yeah, the wedding was beautiful. It was lovely. Hard work, 300 people, manoeuvring them around different rooms. But we redid it and they were all happy. And that was my aim. So
Cool. He was definitely my favourite American president.
let's not get into
Can't get
that.
political on this podcast. Come
Lucy
on.
Wright. Is there any title you'd call yourself, or is it wedding planner for...
Well, I am an international. I do go abroad. I do go into Europe for weddings. I've done a few destination weddings now, so I suppose I am international, but I'm definitely Yorkshire and Cheshire now, kind of
Nice.
based. So I do, but I go wherever people want me
But
to go.
you are start to finish, inquiry to after the way after the wedding planner, and obviously we've worked together a number of times over the years, and you're actually helping us with our wedding as well, which is exciting.
Yeah, that is the nicest thing when suppliers come to me wanting me to help with their wedding.
It's the biggest compliment.
Yeah,
we
a massive
met on
compliment.
Ellie Satz's, who was the first guest on the
Yeah,
podcast
lovely
a few
Ellie
weeks
and
ago.
Harry.
And that's the first wedding we did together.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, I was the same. I was like, oh my God, it's so nice to be chosen for this.
Yeah,
for this
yeah.
wedding.
Oh, yeah, such a privilege.
But yeah, wedding planner. So obviously, I mean, one of the big kind of piece of advice that I got early days, and what every supplier in the industry always talks about, is, I need to get in with wedding planners, because that's the ticket to like high-end weddings, and it is a good inquiry. It's a way to get bookings, and it's part of your inquiry stream. So obviously I want to ask you about how we as suppliers can work with wedding planners, but also just to learn about how you set up your business and how you got started and how you've built it to where it is now, which is like Donald Trump levels of success.
There we go. I think we should right from the beginning.
Well, your
Okay.
website here, set, because I've done my homework.
I've got a little research.
Oh
Copy
no,
them, yeah.
I've got a new website coming. It's not
Sorry
having
to
had
put you on
time
the spot.
to do it.
But it's nice. It says Lucy Wright creates exceptional events by understanding your vision and planning a perfect celebration.
Hopefully. Yeah.
And as having worked with you, I know what like a key role you do play in all that.
Yeah.
But like going back to start, how did you get started in weddings, and why? And yeah.
So it was just over 20 years ago I started, and
when you were 10.
I know.
Nice.
I was, it's over 20 years, because I was So basically, I worked for a very well-known pub chain, Pitcher and Piano, and I went through their academy I started as a waitress in a cocktail bar, and I sing along, and then I went through their academy, management academy, and then I paused that. I went travelling around the world, came back to Pitcher and Piano, and then started the management process. And I decided, then I'd move to London and working for Pitcher and Piano. Now, within that company, they had the general manager's kind of annual party. And I thought, well, as the deputies and the assistants, where's our party? So I decided I kind of went into the head office, said, right, I want to organise a party for all the other managers. Give me a budget, a good one, and give me a bar, one of our bars that's closed on a Sunday night. I think it was in the city. And then, so they gave me the budget and I made it a fancy dress party. I organised everything, did all the invites, so it was about 80 of us there. And that was the first party I organised. So I really loved that. Prior to that, I'd always organised, if my mum and dad had dinner parties, I'd always be there writing the name cards and planning the table and the decor and stuff and sorting out menus and just things you do as a kid. But so I did the Pitcher and Piano thing, moved back up north and had my fabulous daughter, who's about to turn 21. And then I worked for another pub chain, but still kept in with the kind of wanting to do the weddings. So I then moved to a hotel and just obviously because I had a young child, so trying to keep in with the events, I worked in the hotel during the week and then wrote to all the local stately homes around me. One of them replied, and then I worked there for the summer for free, just got experience shadowing their wedding coordinator. And they would say at 8:00, oh, you can go home now, and I was like, no, I want to stay, I want to see it right to the end, I want to be the person that switches the generator off. And the actual wedding coordinator from the venue left, but I stayed as the work experience girl and just wanted to see how the whole story and the day unfolded, and if there was any issues late at night, what would happen. So I did that for the whole summer, and then those two coordinators at the venue happened to leave at the end of that summer. They offered me the job. I didn't even have to do an interview because I'd done it and I knew it by doing about 6 or 7 weddings that summer. Obviously I was very nervous because they gave me a wedding at the end of the summer to run, and but I jumped in with both feet and started, I suppose, in a very hard place. It was a marquee wedding, having to organise it and over-plan everything for all eventualities, having never done anything on that scale. But it was the best thing for me because I just went with it, did it. And then that I was there for 20 years at that venue. And I've only just left. So
I think Howard's already made that joke, but I'm trying to do the maths. You don't seem old enough to do all that.
Yeah, I know. Well, so I'm 42 for all those watching. I am 42. So, I did. So then I left that venue last year purely because I was a really hard decision to leave. But I am too busy doing my own weddings to be their venue coordinator. So,
so were you doing weddings for them and other people obviously at the same time, doing your own weddings and building that side up to eventually I can leave now? And,
so as late as last year you were still with them?
I could have left ages ago, but I loved it and it was so nice. And so I just liked being at that venue. So it was just last year because of various reasons I decided.
You mentioned the venue. Can we mention the venue?
Newby Hall, yeah.
Oh, Newby Hall.
Yeah.
Newby Hall.
Newby, where we were last year.
Yeah. So I only left last July. And
beautiful venue to get you start your journey at.
It was amazing. It was really lovely. But however, alongside that, then I did start about 6-7 years ago doing venue consultancy because I understood how Newby worked and kind of because it's a family home, so making it work alongside being a family home and it only being open to the public certain months of the year, and there's lots of difficulties within that venue. It made me open my eyes to other venues that maybe want to become a wedding venue. There may be a stately home or a country house. So I ended up, I didn't really try to do it, but I ended up going to help other venues become a wedding venue by giving advice. And so I had about...
So needed that, because I imagine if you've never done it before, you've never done weddings, but you've got this dream of having one and you've found the perfect venue. Where do we start? That's invaluable experience you've got, you can pass on there.
Absolutely. And, Grantley Hall, I did go in as a consultant there and help them, advise them on different ways they could run the weddings. Not only the staff, how they run the weddings, but, the actual building, because it hadn't been built. And then there's another one near York. It was hard hat stage. It was a family home, converted it into a wedding venue. And it was things like the flow of the day, moving guests from one room to the other. How is that going to work if you've got a door there? Because obviously they completely reconfigured the building. Mm-hmm. So it was going in with the advice, because it's interesting for me though, because the owners have their view on how things should be run, but they've maybe been a guest at a wedding 1 or 2 or 3 times, but they've never run a wedding and understand it from the other side, from us, the supplier's side. So that was all very exciting, and I still do have venues that I work with as a consultant, and just make sure, help them with their marketing, business strategies, photo shoots, just
we'll talk about the marketing strategies. So how long were you at Newbie before you decided to start sort of marketing your own
straight
wedding
away,
planning business?
really.
How did that come about?
So my own business started, I think, when I was at Newbie. I did that summer as work experience. And then the next summer, I had a few brides look round. Newbie wasn't right for them, but they loved me and wanted me to help them with their weddings. Whether I think it was maybe a marquee at home or something. So I then went on to help them, and that's how my business grew. And then just from, it wasn't so much friends, but people who knew that I worked in weddings asked me to help them with their wedding elsewhere. So
you set up your website. I'm now a solo wedding planner. Obviously, I'm sure you got a team obviously behind you.
Not really.
Well, yeah, obviously you have suppliers, and so it all comes from you.
Tilly deserves a shout out.
Yeah, Tilly definitely deserves a shout out. See, this is the thing. I didn't set up a website straight away. It was just more people asking me, and obviously I was still, from a business point of view, I was still earning money from Newbie, so that was my income. And then I did my own Lucy Wright events on the side. I actually had a night job as well, because I then had my next child, who 4 years later, and another one 4 years later. So I've had 3 children. How many weddings I can't remember, but never missed a wedding. Through maternity leave, what is that?
Dedication, that's what it is.
Yeah,
I can well believe it as well.
I
know how hard you work. So.
It was planning,
It sounds to me like it from what you've just described, it all just sort of fell into place. But I know there's obviously a different story. Yeah. So when you wanted to go out there and start, right, I really want to push this. How did you go about doing your marketing, your business strategy, networking? Just give me some insight of what brought those gigs to you, or was it pretty much being at the venue and finding clients, and then one thing led to another? And
the venue definitely helped, because I met a lot of suppliers in the first couple of years there, and that became my kind of network of people I did and didn't want to work with, and would then
this is a question coming up soon for you, actually.
Okay.
But please carry on.
So I would meet suppliers there and then think, oh yeah, they're great, and then obviously recommend them for my own weddings, Lucy Wright Events weddings. So building up my network of people. I also organised, when Papakata existed, we did the launch of the Sperry tents at Papakata. So,
which is the Marquee TP company.
The Marquee TP company, which is unfortunately no longer. Mm-hmm. But when they had the Sperries, which is a pole marquee, they launched them at Newbie, and I helped with that. And that relationship was because a lot of the brides at Newbie had booked Papakata, so I built up my relationship with them. And I think a lot of suppliers I met in the first couple of years, really, not giving myself a big head, really liked working with me because I was very thorough and I made their job a lot easier. So therefore they recommended me, and they would genuinely liked working with me because I'm not a difficult person to work with. On the wedding day, I look after the suppliers very much, and we're all one team. So it was a kind of, people I'd met in the first few years recommended me to someone or introduced me to another supplier. I did go to, obviously the Papakata did the networking event, launch of the Sperry, so I met a lot of people there. I did go to some wedding fairs, but my marketing was, I did a few magazine editorials, adverts, trying to think what else I did. Wedding shows, definitely I did a few of those. Yeah, just networking, talking to people.
Yeah, it sounds like network, referrals, recommendations.
Yeah.
Just how the wedding world works,
Well,
isn't it?
I
When
love
you've got
how-
a team of people, you all recommend each other, and it just keeps the wheels
Yeah.
turning.
What you said at
doesn't
the
it?
start about doing that party at your old job,
Yeah.
loving that, and then actively going and seeking out stately homes and saying, look, I want this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to do party events and weddings, and then getting that message back from newbie, I presume.
Yeah. It was only newbie who wrote back.
But
Yeah.
like the fact that you actively went out and reached
Yeah.
out to all these places and it paid off, and
Yeah.
then same process then from going from doing all the weddings at newbie to wanting to start your own company. You were then just
Yeah.
reaching out to these places and networking with other suppliers.
Yeah, and I think that's
and
it.
it just
isn't
grows from there.
I mean, I get a lot of people email me, a lot of people who've done event management at uni, and that's brilliant, that's great. But I when they do reach out to me, if I'm really honest, I scan through their CVs, and if I'm looking for someone to help me over the summer or something, I will get back to them. But it's all about their personality. So it's, they could go through, because I don't have any degree in event management. I'm just a very well organised person who's passionate about the job.
So it's not necessarily necessary to do that.
No.
Well, obviously it's not. We know that, but
Hard work beats talent, personality, personal brand.
It does, because, and that's going back to Tilly, my daughter, helps me in a lot of weddings. She is phenomenal at, she's very proactive, reactive, and she is probably the only person I can trust within my business, because if I did employ someone else, going back to it's just me, I do have a team of event managers who I will bring in if I need to, if I have 2 weddings in the same day, which I try not to do. But if I end up like that, the second couple would always know before booking me that it wouldn't be me on the day, just to emphasise that. And then I bring in a team of people, but those people I do trust they're not going to steal my ideas, steal my business kind of model, and kind of my timelines and kind of copy me. So that's why I generally will bring someone in for work experience, but they have to have that go-to attitude, that kind of proactive, reactive, rather than just being perhaps someone who has got a degree in something, but actually they don't know what they do. They don't have that.
It's all about that
thing
experience,
about them.
isn't it? And knowing how to anticipate stuff and being a good people person. We've talked about this all the time about
We always be big on the personal
your
brand side of
relationship
things.
with
Yeah.
your couple on the day and in a build up as much as the service that you do itself.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
The service has got to be bang on point.
Yeah.
But people buy people, don't they?
Yeah,
so if they're happy
definitely.
with your service,
Yeah.
then they're going to pick the person they get on with the most. If they do a similar service,
Yeah.
they're going to pick the people they like the most, they have a laugh with, they're friendly with, and that's what
Do you
me and Adam have
find
done for years, isn't
that
it?
being that one-man band ish, I know you've got Tilly and other people, but versus someone that does a big team and does loads of events on the same day, because I know you pour everything in, you're always there start to finish on every single one, and it is just you.
Yeah.
Do you find that is I would say that's like your superpower, but because you can personalize it so much with the couple. Do you find that helps attract couples and people like that about you and gravitate towards that?
I think it definitely helps. It doesn't help with growing and expanding my business, but I've never done it to want to be this person who does 100 weddings a year and has a team. And some of the London wedding planners, you very rarely get to meet the actual person behind the business. And I don't feel as though it should be like that. I'd rather limit it to a set number of weddings a year, and them always have me. So even I have a wedding next year where I'm not there on the day. The couple know that. They knew that before booking me, and I've booked in one of my planners. But I will do all of that planning. They will only liaise with me, and there'll be handovers to that planner, the person on the day, in the weeks leading up to it. So I don't want to have a huge team of people. I'd rather keep it's just me and keep it small.
You lose that
personal.
personal touch, don't you?
Yeah.
And that's what people buy into.
Yeah.
And they like you. It's,
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's Lucy Wright events, not and team. So
exactly.
about
So
me.
you book Lucy Wright, you expect Lucy Wright. It's
Yeah.
the same with Adam
Yeah.
and Howard. And
Yeah.
like
If nobody else can do what
Yeah.
I do, you see.
if
There's only
John
one
Smith
Howard
turned
Yeah.
up and to
Yeah.
film for me, they'd be like, "Where's
Who are
Adam?
you? Yeah.
Well, we see that a lot, though, don't we, sometimes, where they book somebody else and a different guy turns up and it's like, who are you?
Yeah, and it's not right. You see, that's what on my timelines, I always have all the names of all the suppliers and their phone numbers. And maybe not, might be more like, I don't know, the musicians. If you go through an agent, it's not the agent there on the day. I want the name of the actual DJ, the
Yeah.
actual musician,
Yes.
the actual photo booth guy.
As someone who values that yourself in your own business, does that affect how you choose, like how you recommend suppliers? We'll get onto all that side of things, but
How I would choose suppliers.
like
Well, maybe we could ask the question now then, couldn't we?
if for suppliers that you're recommending, is that something that you would gravitate to as well, like that they've not come through an agency and they are,
And they're going to have contact with the couple direct and stuff.
Yeah, so as a planner, it's really, really important to me that, and how I work slightly differently to planners I have met, is that I don't step in the way of the relationship between, as you guys know, between the couples, because that is so important. So I do know planners where they deal with all the contracts, all the bookings, the payments. The couples very rarely meet any of the suppliers. So videographer, arrives on the day and the couple kind of don't even know what you look like and go, who are you? And you could be anybody. And it's massively important to have a relationship for the suppliers with the couple.
It's so much harder to build that rapport.
Yeah.
Because when I've done weddings where we've not been able to meet beforehand, and even if we've just spoken on the phone and we've just not had that
that's
chance,
quite hard.
it makes such a difference if I have met them.
Yeah.
Because when you turn up, they know what you look like.
Yeah.
And it's just,
And
we're
you have
seeing
a laugh.
Adam again. It's like we're not meeting
Yeah.
for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's so, it
Makes it
helps
more
with
relaxed,
that.
doesn't it?
Especially for
Yeah.
photo and video.
Yeah.
And just
for me, that's the
having
most
them
important
comfortable.
thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. That
Yeah.
I've met my couple, we've gained the rapport. I mean, they come to my house, they meet the
Yeah.
wife, they meet the kids, and
Yeah.
we chat and we keep it a really friendly, nothing corporate about it. I'm not there.
Yeah.
I don't sell what I do. We just have a chat with them. And by
Yeah.
the day the wedding comes,
Yeah.
they're like your friends
Yeah,
with
exactly.
them, and it's such a nice experience for them, but also for me as well.
Yeah.
It's really appreciated to, working through yourself as a planner, to know that I can still have that relationship with my couples. Because if I wasn't with a planner, I'd be doing that myself
Yeah,
with all
exactly.
my couples anyway.
Yeah.
I had this
so it's
a
nice
few years
that-
ago with a planner who contacted me and she said, this couple's interested in booking you. I said, oh, great. If you send me the details, I'll get in touch. No, you have to go through me.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. So
Yeah.
get someone else.
Yeah, and so that's one thing I say when couples book me, I do a kind of 2-hour meeting with them, and we go through all their wishes, their wants, their dislikes, their hates, their family politics, everything. Just throw it all into the meeting, and then I write up my notes, and then I will recommend suppliers I think suit the style of wedding, their personalities, the budget, where it is, the location. And then I say, right, and send them the document, and then they look at who I've suggested and go, yeah, okay, perfect. We want to meet that person. Their website looks great. Get us a quote. So get the quote. And then I always arrange a Zoom call. Now that Zoom call, I say to the couple, I will ask questions. I know the answers already. Even if it's a supplier I don't know, I know the answers because I kind of, how long are you there for? When are you arriving?
Yeah,
What do you need? Standard stuff. But I'm asking them so the
For their benefit,
to hear.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I said, look, I'm just making notes. I'm asking those questions so you can hear, because you might be rabbits in a headlight going, oh, I don't know what to ask. So I'm there making notes and, initiating the conversation. So you get to know that supplier just on a quick Zoom. And if you like them, then I always say, if you get a good vibe from them, do go meet them. So like going to meet Adam. Yeah. And I say, if you can sit in a pub for an hour with that supplier and talk about anything other than the wedding, just having a laugh, they're the right person for you. So yes, they're good at their job, but that's only half the thing for me as a supplier. It's about the couple getting on with them, and that then you can see it on the wedding day that all the suppliers are having a great time. The couple are, because they're trusting who I've recommended or who they've booked, and we're all working as a team. So yeah, definitely can't get in the way of the supplier. Client
Well,
relationship.
they're trusting that you've given them people with quality work. So then it's just about, and for me, if I've got a couple that I'm meeting that have come from you, I know that I don't really need to worry about selling my service as much because
Yeah.
they're going to trust your recommendation, and it's more about getting them to, whether we fit together and whether we click.
I say it to all my couples when they come to the house, if they've not picked a photographer, for instance, or a videographer, I say, look, find 3 or 4 people that you really like the work of, and then meet them. And just book the one you get on with the most. Because they're with you all day. You're going to be relaxed in their company. Yeah. The photographer's going to be there in the morning when you're getting dressed. And I've heard many stories where the bride's been totally naked and been that comfortable in the photographer's presence because they've had that history, going back, and they built that rapport. Yeah. I'm not going to say names.
I always thought that very mad. I don't know.
I'm sure that's... Has it happened to you? It has happened to you. He's going red. Look at his face. For those who are listening on the... on Spotify, Adam is now going red.
Cut that. Cut that. I can adjust the white balance. No.
So Lucy, so we've gained a little bit of insight of how you got your first bookings, how you started off. You had your articles, you went into wedding shows, referrals, recommendations, and you've been killing it ever since to the present day. So what do you do now to keep that steady stream of income? Sorry, not income, inquiries coming in.
And income.
And income, of course, they go hand in hand, don't they? Or is it still working on the referrals, or anything specific that you maybe actively do on a weekly basis where I thought I need to do that? Is it social media? Is it keeping posting? Or what keeps them coming in now?
Social media. So I have employed social media. I was going to say expert. Tilly, my daughter. Because again, she is a legend.
She'll know it inside and out.
Because she is 21. She is expert on it, and she won't let me post things. She gets annoyed.
I thought we need her advice.
We need Tilly. Yeah.
She's great because she looks at all the algorithms and she said to me the other day, well, you reached 500 new people, and I was like, oh, okay, great. I love the social media thing, but I don't understand it, and I don't have time to do it and to make it look nice. So Tilly is in charge of that. But other things, it generally is word of mouth now, which is great. The one thing I do, I suppose, is keep up with the suppliers in the industry. I don't ring them and say, have you got any work for me? I just keep up with them and chat to them. And I was chatting to a lovely singer the other day, and we were just chatting about bouncing ideas off each other, what we can do to kind of help each other out with weddings or events and that need a singer or need an organizer, and just keeping those relationships going, I suppose. But so it generally is word of mouth now, and I've done a lot of sibling weddings, maybe it's cousins that getting married, or people in the same area, or a lot of suppliers like marquee companies will recommend me. And because I've been doing it for so long, a lot of those suppliers recommend me because I make their life a lot easier by doing what I do. Organising the couples and cutting down the couples kind of questions. Say, for example, the marquee company. So I'm meeting a couple later today, and I did a site visit, and I went through all their kind of wishes, wants, all of that. Right, what marquee do you want? A pole marquee, a frame marquee, a teepee, a yurt, a big top? What is it you want? What do you like the look of? I knew what I thought would work best in the site. It's an at-home wedding. And then we went down, I then got them quotes for frame marquees, pole marquees, but I actually drew a plan out. And then when I went to the marquee companies, I wrote a list of everything we needed. Quote for this is where it's going, here's the Google map, here's the 3 words, location. So they had all that information. They didn't need to ask the couple anything, and they came back with 2 comparative quotes, but one for a frame, one for a pole marquee. I sent them to my couple, they decided which one they wanted to go with. And the marquee companies are just booked in. Well, the one marquee is booked in now, and everything is nailed on that quote because I've cut out all that work of the supplier, the marquee company, going back and forth with the couple, saying, well, you can have this, you can have this, because I know what you can have and what you can't have. Of course they're going to
recommend you because it makes their life easier.
So therefore, now that, a long story short, but the marquee company, I had to go with a kind of partner.
They're going to want to work with you every time, aren't they?
Yeah,
just take all that stress away from them.
And it, it's easy for them. It was all done for them. So, but that marquee company is a partner of Will's Marquees, who I absolutely love and work with all the time. But because they're over here in Cheshire, it's a company I've not worked with, but I know the product because it's under the Will's kind of umbrella. So I will meet with them, chat with them as I already have on the phone, and just discuss everything. And the couple, all they have to do is enjoy making the lovely decisions. They don't have to think about all the logistics, the practical side, kind of.
That's the stressful side, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
I think the takeaway from how Lucy's answered that is make it so easy for the suppliers to recommend you.
Yeah.
They're not going to recommend anybody else because it takes so much of their headache away.
Yeah.
And you're lovely to work with. You're great personality.
You're making yourself like indispensable, aren't you?
Yeah, just make it so easy for them to want to recommend you.
Well, I did do a few years ago when I started. Again, probably a few years into starting. I did actually go and build a marquee. I went because I wanted to understand. So my job as a wedding planner is to collate everyone's. So Howard the MC with Adam the videographer and whoever the photographer, the caterers, I need to understand their timings, logistics, their needs for the day. So actually, and the marquee company, what do they have to work with? Obviously, weather situation for a marquee. And so when I talk to the couple and say, well, actually, where's the sun setting over there? Okay, we don't have window walls there because it's shining in. I understand all of the kind of pitfalls, I suppose, with each supplier's kind of how they work on the day, because I went and shadowed a photographer. I went and built a marquee, so I understand how that works and what if there's an issue, how do I fix it. So worked with the generators to understand slightly how to fix them. My husband might disagree on that, but
take a screwdriver with you.
I have a toolbox with
so you've shadowed
screwdriver and tit tape
and experienced every single
tit tape.
Yeah, not for me.
She did say tit tape.
Yeah,
yes.
But
it's important.
I wonder
and
where
a
you're going with
hammer.
that.
Everything's useful.
My last wedding, there's a woman actually espressing on the day.
Oh God, yeah.
And she was in the love train with the thing
brilliant.
a pump
so
on her
good.
baby.
See, women are good at multitasking. That's why.
Unbelievable.
I was going to say, you actually went and you've studied and shadowed every side from every point of view of a wedding supplier.
So I've done. I haven't done videography. Not yet.
You're welcome to come anytime.
So when I did photography, I was there holding the reflector things. I didn't, granted, do the whole wedding. I probably did about 7-8 hours. And I was walking around with a wedding that wasn't mine, obviously, and I was just their assistant, so anything they needed. And I was just wanted to understand it from their point of view. So, setting up for example, when couples say to me, oh, we want to find a photographer who can, we've seen these pictures, they're photo shoot pictures. And I'm like, oh, great. That took probably 6 hours to set up, frame that picture, have everything in it. It's unrealistic. You're not going to get that on your wedding day. So I kind of set the expectations of the couple before they even meet or talk to a photographer, a videographer, because I understand how long it takes just to take one group photo, because I helped organise it and it was painful. And then the caterers, obviously, I was a waitress when I started, but in my wedding planning years, I've been a waitress for many of the caterers that I work with. And a lot of the times on weddings, I'm behind the scenes in the kitchen, not just eating the food, but plating up food, helping, washing up, whatever. So I understand what they need from the day. So every category. Florists, I went and set up a wedding with
it's just brilliant that you do that.
Yeah.
That
you've got a good understanding
that level
of
of
every
experience
single
of all of it.
Every supplier.
But when I'm writing that timeline, my timelines, as you guys know, quite long. I need to understand how long they need to set up, and so that all of that information from each supplier, which ultimately makes the supplier's life easier. I've not done that consciously either, to kind of think, well, that'll help me get weddings from suppliers. I've just done it because that's what I felt needed to be done.
But it does, though.
It goes back to what you said before about your networking, and that's been really beneficial to your business. But it's not that you go to that supplier and say, hi, have you got any work from me?
No.
We talked about this on the last episode. You just friends with these people and you're just catching up, and it just so happens, and you just do you do all these things that just so happen to then bring your work in. And it's just got that kind of organic.
Create that, can you? But it is that wedding industry where
it's the Andy Murphy vibe, isn't it? And that's how we
social and just catching up,
networking, and
it's
so
putting
important.
you I know when I chat to Andy a few years ago. So you chat to him more than a few years ago, but when I've chatted to him, he's fresh in my mind then. So when I'm chatting to clients, like, oh, DJ, amazing, Andy. It's that just keep chatting to people, and then me as the supplier, they're fresh in my mind, I'm more likely to recommend them for people coming up. I do have my little book of suppliers that I go and refer to, because as I'm getting older, I forget people. Forget, like, who was that who worked? But I've got everyone.
My name's Adam.
I do forget
Video.
who was that amazing person who did this. But equally, I'll meet new suppliers and think, yeah, they were lovely. Like last weekend, I hadn't worked with all the suppliers, and they were brilliant. And I thought, great, well, yeah, I've got
We're going to come on to that in a minute, but I just want to finish this section off. Just want to go back to the social media side of things. Obviously, it's free advertising, and it's brilliant.
Do you get a lot from that?
Which this is what I was going to ask. It wasn't that big when I was first starting off. So my again was networking and going to venues and seeking out my work. But social media for you now, do you get anything direct from social media where they don't know you? So Tilly's worked to Magic, it's reached these now 500 people. One of them might come to you who they don't know you, but it's come direct from social media.
Yeah, about 80% of my bookings come from Instagram. So
there you go.
Instagram. There's a few like Hitched Bride book, a few on there. I've just advertised on the free basis, and I've had a few weddings from that.
And are these people that don't know you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got all the referrals, you've got all the networking, you've got all those people recommending it, and you've got 8% of your bookings as well coming in through Instagram.
Yeah.
All that word of mouth
to
stuff.
show how powerful it is.
All that word of mouth stuff, that's like 20%, and the rest is just Instagram.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's well, when I say that, the inquiry comes through Instagram, so they may have then been recommended me through somebody.
Combination of it all.
Couple, usually the bride, has gone on to Instagram, seen my stuff, and then messaged me on there.
That makes sense.
So that makes more sense now.
That's the
similar things
point
happen
of
with
contact,
me.
isn't it?
And
People are using that as a point of contact more
Yeah.
so than the website now.
Yeah.
But isn't that good though?
Wherever
Because
they
they
might
get to
have
see
found
everything
you.
as well,
Yeah.
don't they? Go to
Yeah.
see all your profile, how your amazing weddings.
My website, like I said to you, don't look at it, because I have got a new website. I just haven't finished off putting in, all the extra testimonials and stuff. It's been sitting for 2 years. But I do want to do it because it's sitting there waiting.
It's a sign of a busy person, that, don't worry.
I don't have time. So, but the fact, I don't want to say I don't need to, because that is your shop window, isn't it? You have to have a website. Me as a planner, I know we're coming on to suppliers. If I'm searching for suppliers, maybe new suppliers to me, obviously, looking for their website. If they don't have a website, I don't even bother looking. I won't contact them. They've got to have a website to me.
That's good to know.
So even if it's a shop window, red floral aside, get your website sorted. I just have to say. Because when I'm doing that consultancy sheet of the wishes, wants, dislikes, loves, family politics, when I send it back with all the information, if I send the links to every supplier's website, and I will have checked if they're available, if there isn't a website, I can't put the link in. So it's annoying. Apart from red floral.
What if they got an Instagram profile instead?
Yeah, but I like to do the email.
You would have a way if you're a professional wedding person.
They'd have a link on their website to their social media.
Yeah, it's making it harder for you.
Yeah,
so
it does.
Why not have one?
If I have to really make a massive effort to find them and talk to them, rather than just give the clients the website, then I probably would rule them out.
Yeah. So. Well, we're going to come on to that in a minute, but I think just to finish off this section. Now, I've lost count of how many of my ex-brides have said they want to become a wedding planner.
Yeah, yeah. Now
you must have had the same.
I'm going to start a wedding planning business.
Yeah, I bet Jade wants to do it after your wedding. But and honestly, and it's like when me and Sam got married at the end of our wedding, she planned everything so well. I thought you could be a wedding planner because you did it so well. But I get it all the time, and I get lots of brides contacting me saying, I'm going to set up a wedding planner business. Can you give me some advice?
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to somebody who wants to set up a wedding planning business from scratch?
Well, I would go out there and work in the industry for free. Don't go and do what I did. Go and do work experience. You could try and shadow another wedding planner, but sometimes it's quite hard, I suppose. Like I said, I get inundated with people wanting to do work experience with me, and I'm trying to whittle through to find somebody who I could trust and know the work with. It's hard because I wouldn't want them to be here for the day-to-day kind of paperwork. That's boring and there's not much for them to do, because I'm a bit OCD and I have to do it all myself. So I'd say go to venues, go and try and do some work experience. Or caterers, go and work within the industry in different ways. So go and waitress at a wedding, go and see if you can do front of house, go and work at a hotel, and just say, look, I'm offering free work. I just want to shadow your coordinator. Although venue coordinators aren't always there on the day, so choosing the right place where you get that venue coordinator, or go and, marquee companies, see if you can shadow them and understand the industry, because jumping in 2 feet to say, I'm a wedding planner, let me find a wedding to plan, isn't what it's about. You need to understand the other suppliers and how the industry works and how you create that wedding with all those suppliers. So first get the information and the kind of know-how, and work the long hours. Don't finish at 8 o'clock like a lot of wedding planners do. Finish at 2 a.m. like me. Switching the generator
honestly,
off.
that is really that's just the best advice.
It does make a difference though, doesn't it? I think, like, your bride and groom, when you're there at the end of the night, they're going to remember that so much more.
Yeah. But I like the fact that, that's probably what I do. I'd contact hotels, probably in the areas where I'd like to get established, and go and tell them, I'd like to become a wedding planner. I'm starting from fresh. I'd love to gain some experience. Can I come and work at your venue for free on the weekends?
Yeah.
How many people are going to say yes to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're getting so much valuable insight and experience working on the job.
Yeah.
And a lot of people probably just think, they need to get a website and they need to meet a few suppliers and put a wedding together.
Yeah.
You've got to know it from the inside out, haven't you?
Exactly, because I think it's one of those things, it looks beautiful, and like you look on wedding planners' Instagram. I try to make my Instagram account quite real. It's got a lot of behind the scenes. I'm going to show a lot more of the tough times where, I was up till 11 o'clock last night just finishing emails. I guarantee tonight I won't go to bed before 1 a.m. to just get stuff done. And I want to show a lot of that, because there's a lot of wedding planners, websites obviously, but Instagram, social media, it shows all the polished, beautiful, the professional wedding photographs all there. And I think that's great, but the real side of wedding planning is about, the hard work and the long hours and the, juggling life and wedding planning. Or just a job really, but you need to, as someone wanting to be a wedding planner, need to immerse themselves in the job and come out of it and then say that you love it and you still want to do it, rather than starting ready to go, right, come on, someone give me the work.
I think people might think it's a glamorous world and there's not much work, but it is a hell of a job. It's really, really, really hard, especially when you think, as the planner, you are not only looking after and managing the couple and their expectations, but all those suppliers, the pressure that's on the planner to get everything right, and especially when I've recommended the suppliers, for that supplier to then do their job right and not mess up is an enormous amount of pressure. So it's, I always go and say I don't get stressed, but it is a really highly stressful job. There isn't much glamour to it, really.
How many hours?
I was thinking about the pressure there, because I feel the pressure from me and my serve and what I deliver. Yeah. Every wedding, the pressure's on, always. Got to be as good as the last wedding. I've got to nail it. That's just one part of the wedding, and I'm worried about it. But you've got everybody else. So you probably take that pressure on board for me and all the other suppliers as well. So
I think, I always constantly say, there's a solution to everything. I've just got to work out what it is, and sometimes within about a minute, work it out and make sure it happens. And did I tell the story about? I told the story years and years and years ago. I had a bride, very quickly story. Didn't want to really get married in a big kind of glamorous way. She wanted to just have a small wedding. The groom wanted a big wedding. Unusual, I know. But she was about to walk into the room. I had to pause her and say, we're just still seating people, just pause here for a minute. What actually happened was the pianist, electric keyboard, the fuse had gone. And so he was like, oh, is it the plug? Is it this? Is that? I don't know. So I, with my screwdriver in my toolbox, undid the plug, took the fuse out, no spare fuses, had to get some kitchen foil from the kitchen, wrap the fuse, connect it, screw it back on, plug it in, boom, it worked. And I was like, I had about 2.5 minutes to do that. That's only because my dad had taught me about, changing a fuse in a plug. Just make a connection again. Although he can't remember that story, but he can't remember telling me about the plugs. But
so did you have to crack the fuse
Yeah, you have to
in the
take one
middle,
end
crack it, and where it's split, you just connect it with some foil.
That is dedication.
Had to make
isn't
it work. And I was like, I knew if the bride knew there was an issue, she'd have bolted and gone, because she did not want this big wedding with 150 people.
You have to
looking at
hide
it.
everything, don't you, if there's any problems.
And it was like, so I was like, as they always say, swan on the outside, and inside I was just flapping, going panicking, sweating. And I was like, oh God, I've got to make this work. So it's kind of all that pressure. And, it's actually amazing that the weddings do turn out all okay, because there is so much pressure for any wedding planner to get everything nailed and sorted.
Why would anybody want to do it? Why would anyone want to be?
How many hours goes into like one wedding, from your point of view?
Well, you used to say about 250, but it's way more than that, because I, as a planner, don't limit it. I don't say, right, you get 2 Zoom calls, 2 site visits.
Yeah.
You kind of get everything we need to get it done. So,
and how many do you do a year?
My level of planning varies. So I do probably 10 to 15 full planning, and each one of those is probably between 300 and 500 hours.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
But it's on a rolling, not a calendar year. So it's because I've just done, a few this year. So then I've got a few more for next year, and it's constantly rolling. And then if someone books me for kind of on-the-day coordination, which my on-the-day coordination is not just rocking up on the day, I'd be as useful as a chocolate fire guard. I need to have more involvement, because I need to know all the details.
You're still involved in that lead-up, aren't you, even then?
So it's about 10 weeks before I get involved, having done a site visit already to wherever the venue is, hotel, marquee, whatever. And that's probably...
Do you think that's a good way to break into doing, because I know a lot of venue, like you're saying, get the experience at the venues.
Yeah.
So for a venue coordinator that wants to then branch out on their own, they could start offering that first of all, couldn't they? Like just on the day consultancy and then build from there.
Definitely. There are a few I've known that have done that. I've met some incredible venue coordinators who are so underappreciated at the venue, but give so much more than
I'm really good at this, and I'm being limited. I've met them.
They're people I've kept in contact with and said, you know what, if I need somebody, I'll shout you, because you're really good. And they may have left that venue and they've gone off and set up their own wedding planning business, because they do have that experience in the venue. But I think they've then got to gain the experience of the different types of weddings. So going from a venue where, if I walk into a venue, like at Turnberry last week, there's a whole team of like 60 people there to help me. So whereas I'm doing stuff and they've all, they're like, well, we've done that. And I was like, oh, okay. Because normally I do, setting up the name cards, putting the table linen out and stuff. Well, they've done it because that's their job to do that. So I then have time to do all the other bits that need doing, in ensuring all the supplies in the right place, etc. But so it's very different being a venue coordinator and then say jumping to do a marquee wedding where you're literally given a field and you have to build the wedding from nothing to something and work out, like we said, where the sun sets, where the cars park, where the suppliers enter and exit, all of those logistics. So it's very different, but it is something they could learn, just from doing it.
For anybody who's interested in becoming a wedding planner, they need to have basic knowledge of how to wire a plug.
Yeah.
They need to work till 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
But dedication, being forthright, being that solutions person.
Yeah.
Getting the industry. Getting in the industry and working,
getting that experience from ground up, like waitressing, and understanding everything about it.
Yeah, don't try and go in at the top and with a website and ready to go to wedding shows and say I'm a wedding planner. Go, because unfortunately, I think couples will either not take you seriously because you've never done a wedding, and suppliers won't either. You need to have that experience at least for a year or so, and then know that you passionately want to do it, and then go into it with some experience.
Cool. So obviously, you've talked about we've talked about that pressure of making sure that it all goes right, and you've got the pressure on your thing and I've got the pressure on my thing, but your pressure is making sure that everything and every supplier works. So you must have to have ultimate trust in the suppliers.
This is a really important question for a lot of suppliers, and they're going to want to know the answer to this, aren't they?
Well, every supplier wants to work with wedding planners because they think that's the ticket to the bigger weddings, as I kind of said at the start. Is that a fair statement, firstly?
Well, I wouldn't say always to the bigger weddings. I think, I mean, I do small weddings too. And you know, not always £500,000 weddings. Some are, not all. But I think, yes, getting to know getting to know wedding planners, I suppose, or you know, getting your face or name in front of them, maybe is the right way to put it, in a lovely way though, because when I've had people that I don't know from Joe Blogs email me and say, I'm a photographer, I'd love to shoot some of the weddings you do, your work's amazing, and I think, well, you don't even follow me on Instagram, because I will then dig them out and see, who are you, where are you based, how have you found me? And I think, do you know what? I prefer if someone sent me something perhaps in the post, or they sent me a quick email and said, I know you'll be really busy, but this is, I want to send you some stuff. I don't know what they'd send, but something, literature of theirs or something. So when I meet with my couples, and have this consultation meeting, I will, again, go back to the wishes, wants, dislikes, loves, family politics, go through the suppliers, and I say, right, what do you want, say, from a videographer? Sometimes they say, well, I don't even want a videographer, and I chat to them and say, you know, think about this, think about that. But when we're going through, say, the florist or the caterers, we will go through what they really want from the caterers, what kind of style of food, what kind of style of flowers and everything. And my job is basically matchmaking. I have in my mind who I think will suit them. So for example, one florist, you know, the style of their work might not suit that couple. I would never recommend a supplier because a supplier said, I'll give you £100 if you recommended me. That's just not the way I work. I know that does happen in the industry, but I am a matchmaker. My reputation's worth more than that. So I would, you know, obviously knowing quite a few, say, florists, knowing that a florist can work, you know, with a budget of, say, £5,000 up to £100,000. Is finding the right supplier or florist that will suit that couple, the style of floristry, and also the team. So, you know, the wedding I did last week, it needed a big team of what was required, the transition from ceremony to dinner, not a one-man band florist or with her, you know, friend who's coming to help. So it really is a matchmaking process. But equally, if I don't, say, have the right supplier for that couple and I've still got to search for them, I will go through that process of asking my supplier friends if, you know, if it was a videographer, Adam was booked, so who else do you recommend? And I do that, who is similar in style to you. Sort of style, yeah. I had that recently with a photographer for a big 50th birthday party I'm doing down near London in a few weeks, and the photographer couldn't do it. So we actually ended up with a photographer who's just photographed the BAFTAs. So I was like, oh, that's exciting. Who I've never worked with, but I rang him up and said, right, you've been recommended by someone I trust implicitly. Let's, you know, chat away, tell me about you. And I looked at his website and everything, and I got the vibe from the phone call. He was great. He was going to really suit this vibe of party. But it's a big risk because I've not worked with him. I've seen his work. He's been recommended, but I've not worked with him. I don't know how he works. I sent him through the timeline, said this is, and he was all very cool with it, like kind of in a lovely, like, right, anything you need me to do to help. Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? I got the good vibe that he's going to work well with the rest of the suppliers, the client, and me on the day. So that was a case where I couldn't have the supplier I'd suggested, find someone else.
So what is it that if you're speaking to him and you don't know him already, what is it that reassures you, or what would put you off? What could he have said that made you go, oh no, you're not right?
Right. So a supplier to me, first and foremost, it's not their day. If it's a wedding, it's the couple's day. It's about them. Be flexible. I generally don't work with people who give a set time and say, well, once this is done, I'm gone.
I've known that before.
Yeah.
Oh, it
yeah.
drives me insane.
And you kind of think, well, we're all human. Timings, I will keep the timings as close to what we agree they are on this timeline that I create, but they do run over. So if the first dance is 20 minutes late, you know, everything else has a knock-on effect. Just be willing to stay, be willing to be flexible. You know, I'm not writing this for me, all the timings. I'm writing it for the couple. Everything is about that couple on the day. So understanding their wants and needs on the day and adapting to that is, you know, being a flexible person, being understanding, being not demanding. It's working with suppliers who, are accommodating.
Being flexible, aren't they? I've known at weddings before where the photographer said, I'm only booked till, we have to do the first dance at 8:30 because I'm only booked till 8:30.
Yeah.
And I've known it before where the first dance been at 9, they've gone home. And I'm like, what else are you going to do tonight?
Yeah, where are you going?
Where are you going now? You know, you're here for the bride and groom, for them.
Yeah.
And you've just gone home because you've not been paid. Do you know what I mean? It's just...
And that's what I've learned with the suppliers that and a lot of couples say, oh, were you only, or suppliers also kind of feel that I just work with the same suppliers. No, it's not true. I recommend people who suit pinching his biscuit. I work with suppliers who suit the couple, and yes, there might be repetition because I know the couple are going to be happy with that supplier. So like Adam and I've worked in a few weddings and people might say, oh, well, you only work with Adam. Like, I don't. It's just they definitely suit your style of work, your personality. But I'm always open to new suppliers, definitely, because that's how I expand my network of, you know, fabulous suppliers. But it is a risk I take, so I will definitely kind of chat to them, almost like interview them, I suppose, before recommending them.
So that list that is ever growing. How many on each category? Like how many are you kind of working with at any one time? Because if you've got to tailor the supplier to the couple, there's so many different styles. Yeah. Have you got a lot?
Yeah, well, well, on the my big kind of supplier list, my little Lucy Wright wedding suppliers book. There's hundreds, probably 1,000, over 1,000 suppliers.
I think it's the right way to do it because, like you say, you're matchmaking. You're not just like, I recommend this photographer all the time. Yeah.
Well, I do it quite selfishly too because I've seen some wedding planners who use the same suppliers and think, well, each wedding just looks the same. You know, it's the same florist, the same photographer, same caterer, and they all just look the same. So I like that varied. Like last week, meeting some new photographers up in Scotland, and like they were brilliant to work with, so lovely. And they'll definitely be on my list if the right couple come along, you know, somewhere in the UK that would suit them. And you know, and don't forget, when I get couples coming to me, they might have a date like say for July next year. It was super busy, and for weddings in general, I might have to go through 3 or 4, 5, 6 photographers or videographers to get someone who's available. So I have to have an extensive list, and not only is that 3, 4, 5, 6 suppliers, but in the right category for the right budget. So I have to know a lot of suppliers.
I think the wedding you did up in Turnberry last week, when they were sort of specifying the suppliers needed to be from that area. Yeah. That must have been quite a challenge, I imagine, for you.
It was, because they wanted all Scottish suppliers. And I was like, well, if you want this and this, you're going to have to expand the search. You can't, you know, I didn't know enough Scottish suppliers to kind of trust them or know they were the right ones. So we got the photographers. I think the photographers the only ones actually in the end. But that was the bride just trying to keep the mileage and costs down for travel. But actually when she wanted various different things, she knew we had to expand.
Okay, so I know we touched on it slightly before, but if suppliers, video or photographers want to start working with planners, what advice would you give to them as their approach to contacting and approaching wedding planners to try and get on their books, if you like? What would you say to them?
Well, do you know, having just thought about the question again, one thing I always suggest to any supplier is if they can do, so I will speak for myself as a wedding planner saying this because maybe they don't all think like this. I love a free day out. So if someone like Adam said, right, I need to work with more planners, try and book like a day and do a lunch or something and book like 10, 15 amazing planners from all over the UK on a wedding planner kind of day out with lunch, and get a few other photographers or a few other suppliers involved, and put yourselves in front of them. So like saying a free day out, like whenever I go to particular venues, I may have visited on a wedding retreat, it's fresh in my mind, I rave about it. I remember going off to Belfast once to a venue, which I've never done a wedding at, I never have since, but I've told so many people about it because I went and experienced it for a whole weekend and loved it. And when I've done, gone to catering kind of open days, it's specifically about the catering, where the caterer talks about how they started as a business, like us chatting, try some food, tell us how your process works with weddings. So I would suggest, say for like Adam, a videographer or a photographer, get together with a few other suppliers, put something on, whether it's an afternoon tea or something, and invite those planners and talk about your business, put yourselves in front of them, showcase yourselves, because at a wedding show, suppliers do not have time to chat to each other so much, only on the kind of setup and de-rig, and then you're off because you want to get home and it's been a long day and you're so exhausted talking to the clients. Actually, it's the supplier to supply, you need to put yourself in front of planners, so invite 10, 15 of them to somewhere lovely, put a few bits, coffee and tea, and a few other suppliers.
Between planners?
No, well, we don't. Well, when I went on the wedding planners retreat recently, it's lovely because there's definitely a kind of sense of we don't quite share everything, but I met some fabulous planners.
I think it's nice because you're in the same boat and you've got a lot in common. And
we moan about things and we pass secrets, and I don't pass all my secrets.
I wonder though, doing that approach, if the planners might think, well, these guys are just getting us here, so we'll get work for them.
Yeah, but I don't see it that way. I see it as, well, maybe it's just me as a planner. I want to know. Okay, I want to meet them. I want to see how they work.
I'm new to the industry. I'd love to start working with wedding planners. I'm actually doing a day for 10 wedding planners. We're going to go to the races. Me and some of my supplier friends would like to come along. It's totally free. Just so you can get to know us, we can get to know you, and just have a day out. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'd be more, as a planner, I'd be more interested in knowing how they work, where they've worked. Almost not so I can then pass it on to my clients. It's that whole thing of when I went round and I shadowed a photographer, a caterer, a florist. I want to know so that Adam says, right, well, this is how I work, this is the process, this is the editing, this is behind the scenes kind of stuff. And it possibly wouldn't be too long if it was just you, so it'd be a few other suppliers, and make it more appealing to those planners to understand that process. And perhaps you do, as a little kickback to them, you do a bit of video on the day, and that's part. They get something to put on their social media, because if I'm honest, my days are spent here working paperwork. So when I get the opportunity to go and do something that's quite exciting to put on my social media and give to Tilly to put on there, and she does what she does with it, that's great. I don't have weddings every weekend, so I don't have stuff to post all the time. So as a planner, going to something that has content for me to put on my social media, look what I'm doing today, and I've met this amazing videographer, I've met this photographer, but actually I'm understanding the process of how their role on the wedding day works, what they need from the planner is really beneficial too.
It's a good point, because it is, you do spend a lot of time just at home, don't you, on your own, so it's nice to be asked to these things.
To go out.
It's interesting, because I'd have assumed that doing something like that would be too try hard and
almost like you're bringing them
sucking up too much.
So you can count your business.
Interesting to hear.
I do think some planners might see it that way, but I don't think then they're as open-minded as me, because I'm like, great, well, let's do that.
What about, say, as a videographer, if I was to run a workshop for other videographers teaching, because we've done those, but then invited you along to that, because then you get the day out, and then you're also getting to see
how it works.
But
it's beneficial to you to have more planners, because that's the aim, isn't it? You're trying to put your face and business in front of the planners. So,
or like a florist that could set up a showcase day and invite a load of planners.
It was another business idea I had a few years ago, was to do this, was actually get a venue and bring in those kind of, it was more of an exclusive kind of bridal retreat for a weekend. And actually I did put it to Jules that we should, a few years ago, we would do it together. So the bride and her mum or her entourage, they come and stay somewhere lovely for the weekend. And on the Saturday and the Sunday, we bring in those suppliers. So like Adam bringing, you're not, yes, you're selling yourself, but you're also maybe slightly justifying why you cost X, Y, and Z, because it's not just on the day. I always keep saying that couples need educating as to why things cost what they cost. And they say, well, videographer, well, that's an extortionate amount of money, because they only see you on the day. They don't see all the insurance for your equipment, the maintaining your equipment, buying new equipment, all the editing afterwards, all that work. So it was about educating the couples on why you would have this particular videographer, and the perhaps, and then you talking about you on the wedding day, how you work and how you run. So that was suppliers putting the supplier in front of couples was an idea. But then I've always thought, well, why can't the suppliers put themselves in front of other suppliers / wedding planners? Because I think wedding planners need educating sometimes on behind the scenes. Like I always say, people always say you must know everything about weddings. 20 years on, no, because every wedding's different, every couple's different, every year is different, all the trends change, weddings evolve. So I think suppliers need to put themselves in front of planners, and the best way is to invite them all as a group and showcase yourself.
Do you ever watch people that do behind the scenes reels and stuff? And just to get an idea of the real process of it.
And that's what I love more than those. Like I said, my Instagram is all kind of my photographs and stuff mostly, and stories about behind the scenes, rather than the polished kind of finished look. Because that's great, but that's not how the wedding happened. You didn't see all the painful hours before, up till 2 a.m, putting out name cards, or 10 million different favours on the tables, or ironing tablecloths, stain removing from carpets, or whatever, cleaning toilets.
Is there anything maybe more direct, that if people want to be chosen by wedding planners, what would make you? Anything more direct?
Is there a wrong way to? Do you get people sucking up to you, reaching out on socials and
not so much on social media.
That puts you off.
When suppliers say, and this is just personally me, when they say, oh, if you recommend me, I'll give you 100 quid or something, I just think, no, they're not. They're not the people for me. It doesn't work for me, because I don't want to work like that. So that puts me off. But then other direct things, people, emailing me is the best way, because just email me telling me who they are, and perhaps if they kind of say, well, I'm coming up into the area, do you want to meet for coffee or something, that's fine. Not in the height of wedding season, but in the low season, that's fine. But just contacting directly.
Brief introduction, this is who I am, I'm up in your area soon, you want to grab a coffee, but otherwise you can look at my stuff on socials here. If you've got anything that might slip in, this is my style. And
it's good, because I'd have been put off doing that, because I wouldn't want to come across like a suck up, but it's nice to hear that you would welcome it.
I don't always have time to answer people and straight away and stuff, but no, I just think, that's probably the easiest way to do it, isn't it? I don't know, because I don't do that to other suppliers, I suppose. So, but just being direct.
Well, you must get people most of the time, or quite a lot of the time, messaging you and, like Adam said, sucking up or trying to get work through you. There's going to be some that you're going to read straight away and go, definitely don't like that one.
Yeah.
But I actually quite like that one. And what is the difference, do you think?
I don't know. It's hard to say without meeting them. So I'd probably.
Is it the way they get in touch?
Whether maybe.
It's just a DM, or whether they've gone to more effort of posting you something.
No, because equally a DM and an email, as long as the email is not like 5 million pages, that's fine. Because I'll be honest, I don't read long emails. So a quick email saying, this is me, this is what I do, I'd love to work with you, and it sounds genuine, I suppose, not that you've just copied and pasted and sent that to millions of people. Make it more personal, make it real. Video would be great. I'd watch
gold
that.
Envelope, handwritten.
That'd be nice. That'd be lovely.
People love gold envelopes.
But a video, you're so right, because I'd watch that. I'd watch a video more than I'd read an email.
I used to do it years ago when I was starting out. I used to send each individual inquiry a video.
Oh, okay.
Put other pictures in it, had me chatting over.
Just you on camera saying hi.
With images, and this is what I've done at this venue that you're getting married at, and
It's funny because as a videographer, you'd think that at least videography people would do that.
But I find videographers don't like to ever get
worse than any type of supplier for doing
Yeah.
that, because most don't shy away from being
kind of introverts.
Yeah.
So I think so a video, if you got a tailored video presentation for you, but not presentation, but just a quick hi.
Yeah, you're so right. That would be nice, because I would be more inclined to watch that and just telling me about who they are, I suppose. And also, I'm very much a person. I remember, like I was saying, going on wedding retreats to places like to Belfast and then to Wales and stuff. I remember those venues, and they're fresh in my mind, even though it was years ago, because I've experienced that and been there. So a video I'm more likely to remember, definitely.
And you're like, that guy sent me a video. They'd be perfect for that wedding.
Yeah, and you can get a lot from their personality from a video than you can from an email, can't you?
It's well worth doing as a supplier, because whether planners are the ticket to the big weddings or not, it's another inquiry stream, isn't it? It's another place to get bookings from. Knowing planners, like you are very sought after.
Well,
I think everybody thinks that, don't they?
Yeah.
And the key to the big, massive weddings are through the planners, because most of them huge, massive weddings will have a planner.
It doesn't have to be a £250,000 ones. You will pick the supplier knowing that they're the right fit for the couple, that they meet the budget, that everything. So
definitely. But I do feel as though, obviously being in the industry for quite a while, that there used to be a chronological order to couples. They'd go and find a venue, then it'd be a caterer, then what order they're going, and a planner would be one of the first. If they sought out to get a planner, obviously some people then discover they do need one, and it's further down the line. But there is no chronological order now as to what order things come in. So they don't always come to a planner first, and then look for the suppliers. So I think for other suppliers, it's just networking in general, isn't it? You could find that actually the venues or the caterers or the marquee companies, they're the ones that recommend you for this, that and the other. And the supplier might come in the booking further down the line. I get just as many on the day coordination bookings as I do full planning, where I haven't had any involvement in the suppliers' bookings.
Right.
They've just discovered they need me nearer the time.
So once you're booked on a wedding, like you say, you might have been booked on after the suppliers themselves, or some of the suppliers. But once you get to the wedding day, we've worked together, and I know how easy it is to work with you. But that kind of whole syncing up on the day, working together as a team and stuff. What would you look for from a supplier on the day, and what would you make you come away from that wedding going, do you know what, they were great, I want to work with them again?
Well, referring to probably easier to, because I was just in the wedding last week, keep going on about it. I'd met Ricky and Ross, the photographers, and I'd never worked with them. I'd only spoken to them on the phone, and then they'd sent them my timeline. And one, they both said, amazing, this is great, perfect, see you there, easy. And then on the day, they both came up, introduced themselves, and said, they actually said to me, anything you need, let me know.
That's a big first thing, isn't it? Just saying hello.
Making themselves known, not like, I've met some photographers, and I talk a lot about photographers. It's just because they're fresh in my mind. All these cameras around me. I'm not targeting them in a bad or good way.
DJs, cake makers,
such divas, photographers, aren't
they? They are. I could name wicked or name a few, but
JD.
Sorry. I love him. But they are. The suppliers, they can just, we're all a team. So I don't like working with suppliers on the day that very much have their own agenda, take over, and, my timeline, like I've said before, is written for the couple. The couple have approved it. The couple and myself have worked through it and, done everything to make it run as smoothly as possible. So when I get a supplier come on the day, even though they've seen the timeline, I say, well, actually, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. They don't ask me. I am the kind of, I suppose, the go-to person on the day. It's running it all. I'm that centerpiece of the jigsaw, fitting all the little pieces together. So if one supplier goes off on a tangent and go, well, like the photographer, or the videographer. So I'm going to take the couple away for an hour. I'm like, oh, no, you can't. That wasn't on the agenda. The couple don't want that. And because maybe they're doing it for their own personal portfolio, because it's incredible.
Ego thing, doesn't
yeah.
it? Just work as a team. It's it's not about you.
It's a team effort. And again, we're doing this for the couple. So on the day, suppliers just need to kind of think, right, yes, I'm the one looking after everything, but that timeline was written for the couple, by the couple and me. Stick to it. I will help them with anything. They can help me with anything. If they're nice and offer stuff, it's lovely. But ultimately, we're just a team working together.
For goodness sake, sit in the green room.
Yeah, don't sit in your room.
If you're going to do your work, go in the green room, man.
Don't sit where the guests are, yeah.
We'll tee up the question, right? Well, we're closing up. Listen, thanks so much for your time.
Now. What's the last question?
I've loved chatting with you, and I hope our listeners and viewers are getting... I've got some good value from this.
We're building this up. It's not that exciting.
So... This is a question we're going to ask to every person on the podcast. We've already asked Ellie.
Okay.
I've asked Adam. Adam's asked me. We're going to ask every podcast guest. Yeah.
Okay.
So, if you could swap trades with any other type of supplier in the wedding industry, what would you do?
Oh God. Good question. I don't know, because I'm a bit of a control freak. So.
You've already had a little hand in all of it.
Well, I've done a bit of everything.
Yeah.
I suppose.
As a living, it's like I'm going to change from being a wedding planner, and I want to do that in the wedding industry.
Do you know? I'd love to have my own wedding venue that I run.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I would have it because of obviously having worked in lots of venues. We do have a feel. We did talk about doing marquees.
You could easily do it.
Yeah. So I'd love to have my own venue that it was a blank canvas where couples could come in and literally do as they wish, not, well, you have to have this, you have to have that, you have to be out by this time, you have to have that supplier.
Isn't that
venue. I don't like venues where they sell themselves as a blank canvas, but actually they're not. Yeah. So I suppose
their type of wedding rather than the wedding you really want.
Yeah, and I'd quite like to do that so I can, and I don't mind working weekends and stuff, but just maybe have hand the planning maybe to another planner, and then I'm just there looking after the venue. That'd be fine.
Nice. We always follow the question up with, do you think you'd be successful at it, and why? We don't need to ask that.
Of course you would. Of course you would.
Yeah, I'd be shit hot at it. It'd be great.
I think it's the why, isn't it? Why would you be successful? Though we know why.
I want to know what everyone else said now for that.
So I would be a DJ, which I quickly, that was a naive answer because how DJs
I'm
get a lot of stick.
I'm going to be a DJ.
But
I'm going to train.
I love the idea of...
Wedding DJing is very different than doing it in a stadium of 2,000 people or in a massive nightclub.
Yeah.
Weddings is very different. Sometimes it's a thankless job.
Yeah.
You've got to deal with pissed uncles.
Hard work. I do think about the other suppliers, and they're thinking, I sometimes quite like to be in a bridal shop and just say, well, have a lovely wedding day, bye.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think anyone, especially after listening to this, it will be envious of your job.
No, but I do love it. I do still love it.
Breed.
Yeah,
no, it's good.
do.
Well, it's been a real insight into everything that goes into it from the start.
There is one more. So this is a question from Ellie and Harry, because we said to them, is there anything that you would ask our next guest? Whoever it may be. They didn't know who it was.
Right, okay.
So they didn't know that we were having you on. But, it was Harry that asked this. What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you at a wedding? How did you recover? Or if you didn't, are you still in it?
Oh God!
Are you still living with the embarrassment? I think he said, how did you recover, or are you still there?
Are you still trying to having
still
sleepless nights about it? Oh my God, the most embarrassing thing. Oh God, I can't think.
See, I've got them, but I can't say it on the podcast.
I've got one that involves Lucy.
Oh my God! Yeah, no wonder you're laughing.
She's recently newly married. Be careful.
Well, that's not embarrassing for me. It was you can tell the story.
Well, I split my pants.
Talking about the toolbox.
Didn't hang out, did it?
I split my pants. I was wearing blue pants, and I split them at Ellie and Harry's wedding.
Yeah.
And I had white boxes on, so I just had
only
a big
had grey gaffer tape.
and a big gaping hole, and it was all the way from front to back full. And Lucy,
did you take them up?
Lucy,
yes, she loved it.
Lucy Wright was gaffer taping me up. There's a picture somewhere. I'll put it on the video.
Yeah, that was so funny. Yeah, that was embarrassing.
We want to know.
I don't know what mine was.
Funnily enough, that's not my most embarrassing story. It's a funny one.
No, the thing is though, it runs so smoothly for the couples. There's definitely issues behind the scenes, but like I said, I solve them generally.
Have you caught people doing?
This is the point.
Doing things with people maybe they shouldn't be doing them with.
Yeah. I do. Not an embarrassing story, but I'm laughing, but it wasn't that funny. I did one wedding where the caterers had a lot of agency staff. I shouldn't be laughing at this. We had a lot of agency staff, and one girl walked off into the gardens, a waitress, and she'd obviously necked a bottle of champagne. And she came back and she was quite sozzled, and obviously we couldn't allow her to work, and she then did slightly pass out, and so the only way we could, obviously we're all busy working and everything.
Slightly passed out.
Well,
she either did or she didn't.
Well, I can't quite remember, because the next thing I knew was I was asked to find her something to wrap her in to keep her warm, because she'd either passed out.
Yeah.
So the only thing I could find was some marquee carpet, and I wrapped her up like a sausage roll.
Like she died.
Like she was just like this, like a sausage roll in the carpet in the back of the catering van. And I was like, please remember she's there.
Seen at the Godfather.
And then obviously a few hours later,
imagine when she wakes up the next day and she's in a carpet like,
in the fridge.
Someone's trying to murder me.
In the fridge fan, like a corpse. So that it was not embarrassing, but I shouldn't laugh.
I know from personal experience that any embarrassing stories that do happen at weddings, you're normally the solution to those things.
yeah. I try to be, but there's been many things, I'd imagine.
That'll do. That's funny. That made me laugh. I just love the idea of her waking up and being like, what's happened to me?
Can you imagine being the staff and just getting trashed?
It was because they're agency, so now I don't work with agency staff. Every caterer I work with, I always say, if it's a new caterer to me, I'll say, no agency staff, please. Can't have them.
Don't get drunk. If you want to work with Lucy ever again.
Yeah.
That's another
You can get drunk at my wedding if you want.
Okay, thanks.
I think we're
Can we end on, so Ellie and Harry had that question for whoever was next. Can you do? We've got do we disclose it now, or do we just mention it at the end of the next podcast?
Well, I know who you've got next.
We've
You've
got
told me
Andy
already.
next,
Go on then. Have you got a question then?
Give us a question for Andy.
Oh my God, what should I say? If he had his choice, if he had the run of all the songs, and the couple just said, you choose, what would he choose as the first dance song and the last song of the evening?
Cool, nice.
There you
I
go.
like that, because I'm well into music.
Because that'd be really hard if he had all the choices. Is he a cheesy romantic guy, or is he a
Frank
rock
Sinatra,
guy?
My Way.
Or
And then take that.
Never forget where you're coming. They did it on the coronation.
Isn't it a bit cliche though? But isn't it always great though at the end of the wedding?
My Way always works.
I love it.
Do you know, I had Frank Sinatra My Way, but mixed with Biggie Notorious. And it was I don't know what the mix was. Brilliant. It was brilliant. It was because they had R&B all night, so it was a great way to do that cheesy
to mix
song.
it up.
But with Biggie, it was great.
People always forget the last song as well, don't they?
Thanks, Lucy, for coming
you're
on.
welcome.
Thanks.
Lucy, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate it. It's been great getting insight into your world.
Lucy Wright events. If anyone wants to look you up on Instagram, online.
On Instagram, it's Lucy W Events.
Lucy
Couldn't
W
quite fit the
events.
writing. But yeah, website's just lucywrightevents.co.uk.
You're going to be flooded with messages saying, would you like to come to my wedding planners thing that I'm arranging?
But I think the main thing I want to put across is that people shouldn't think that wedding planners are unapproachable and how do you get in and chat, get in to work with them. They should be open people that you can just, I think Howard's idea of video is brilliant, but just approach them.
It's great. Love that.
And I love working with new people.
And anybody listening, watching, we really appreciate you being here. Appreciate you being here and
thank
listening.
you.
And we hope you've got some value from it. As ever, you can find us on all the usual podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Music.
I've got that.
All that sort of stuff.
Or
if you're watching on YouTube, please leave us a comment, please. Something that you think is a worthwhile question to ask some of our future podcast guests.
So thanks so much for listening. We really hope that you found this episode insightful, inspirational, and if you did enjoy that, then please consider subscribing to us wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. We're Think Wedding Business.
We're also on YouTube and Instagram, so if you want to watch us, you can go over to YouTube and find us at Think Wedding Business, and the same over on Instagram to keep up with all of our future episodes.
We'd really love you to subscribe and join us on this journey, and if you do like this content, please consider giving us a 5-star review. It just helps us get seen and helps spread the word.
So thanks again for listening,
Wings
and we'll see you
out.
next time.
Bye-bye.